Okay, and it looks like we are live. So, good afternoon and welcome. Chelsea Collie here. We have some great guests today. Welcome, Robert and Jaime Agee.
Hey,
Thanks for having us.
great to be on here. It was great meeting you at the Moment of Truth
Reckoning
Summit.
Fest.
Mike Lindell's Moment of Truth Summit, or was it Reckoning Fest was the first one? Okay, all right, right here in Texas.
Yeah, Reckoning Fest. Yeah, I'm just south of Austin.
Okay,
Right on.
great.
Cool. Yeah, it was
Born
so
and
nice
raised
to
right
meet
down there
you.
south of Austin in San Antonio, little town
Oh,
called.
really?
Mhm.
Cool. What about you, Jaime?
I was born and raised in Kansas.
Really?
Yeah,
She played Dorothy in the parade, believe it or not.
Me too.
really? Wow.
Yeah. What part?
Dorothy.
What part, Dorothy? Is that a place in Kansas?
Oh,
Oh, Wichita, Wichita, Kansas.
Really?
Yeah.
I lived there till I was 11, and then I moved to Austin.
Wow.
interesting.
I've
Small
been here
world.
for almost 20 years. So,
Wow. And you guys are like Dallas area-ish.
Yeah, just north of Dallas, about an hour and a half northeast, kind of out here in the woods on the border of Texas and Oklahoma, right on the Red River.
but still Texas.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's a small world. Yeah, I was born in Great Bend, which is like right in the middle of Kansas. And then I moved to Wichita till I was 2. When I was 2, and then I lived there till age 11. So maybe we went to elementary school together or something.
Never know.
That's funny. Awesome. Well, your story was so inspiring, and I think the part that like got it for me was hearing you talk about Robert, hearing you talk about Jaime being like, but the children, like it's all about the children. And I'm definitely not going to get emotional today, but that is like the reason that I do everything. And I am getting emotional. Sorry.
There you go.
Don't start. I will
That's
too.
what it's all about, right?
It reminds me of going to the county commissioner meetings, because Jaime, she would come with us, and I say us, myself, sometimes my mom would come, some of my sister would come, and kind of turned into a little bit of a family affair. But we went down to county commissioner. We got inspired to do this by going to a Reawaken conference in Tampa, Florida, back in June of 2020.
No, 21.
21. What year are we in? Yes. See, I told you earlier, I was like, it seems like one long year since 2020. But, General Flynn's up there saying, hey, local action creates national impact. We got to get involved. We got to do something. I'm watching the LT on the And We Know show. He's showing videos of folks going down there, county commissioners, and letting them know how, they feel about the current climate. And, Clay Clark's up there, encouraging people to get involved, and so many others. I'm like, okay, what are we doing? All right. We're consuming a lot of information, but we're not really doing anything with it. Like I said, we have a homestead out here in the backwoods of Texas, and we kind of, do our own thing, keep to ourselves. And, we've got some friends and, some neighbors and some family around here, but we don't get out too much. Right. It's kind of not our thing, which is interesting because now we're traveling all over the US. Right. But we're like, what can we do to get involved? We got back here to Texas. And we have a big 4th of July party out at our property every year, and have all the community come out, do a big fireworks show, shoot Roman candles at each other, all that fun stuff. They were talking about how next week the county commissioners were going to be ruling on this deal that was going to cause everybody to have to apply for a permit in order to build something out in the county. Which, normally out in the county, you kind of do whatever you want, right? But you have to apply for a permit to build a chicken coop. We're like, what's going on with these guys? You know what? We need to go down there and let them know how we feel about this. And so we all decided we were going to do that. And a whole bunch of us showed up. We filled up the courtroom. We filled up the lobby. We filled up the parking lot. And they've never seen so many people out at one of their meetings. And we all voiced our concerns. And it was amazing what happened. They apologized, and they quickly rescinded this permit mandate, and said, we didn't realize, how the public felt about it. Well, they didn't ask us, and we had never showed up for anything, and it was a real wake up call to us that, hey, if we just show up and speak up, things can happen. There's power in your presence, but there's also power in spoken word. So, we thought to ourselves, well, what else could we come up here and change, right? Because during that meeting, they were talking about, the judge was encouraging folks to go get the jab at the end of the meetings. We're like, why is the judge encouraging people to take an experimental gene therapy shot? Why are people wearing masks in here? And they had some COVID agenda items they were going over. So, we said to ourselves, look, I'm a general contractor, run my own business, so I'm flexible with my schedule, and Jamie, stay-at-home mom, takes care of things here at the homestead. We're like, why don't we take our Tuesdays and we'll go up there to these meetings, and we'll educate them on what's really going on. And we're not, we don't have it all figured out, but there's a lot of people out there that have a real good bead on it, that have already done the work. And so we figured, hey, we'll just take some information that we get from Dr. Jane Ruby when we're watching Stu Peters, or we'll take some information from some of these other sources like the And We Know Show and different programs, and we'll take clips of those. We'll screenshot it. We'll download the documents in the links below the videos. We'll print those out, and we'll deliver that, and we'll put that on public record, and we'll just read right from their own testimonies of what's taking place. So we did that, and that's when Jamie started crying, right? Every time she'd get up there, she would just be bawling because of what, it's serious. What's
happening? Sad. All I was doing was reading the numbers of the different injuries from this C-19 shot. And every time I'd get to the miscarriages that have happened from this, and like back then it was like 1,300 reported had miscarriages from this. And of course we knew there was a lot more. And I had a hard time just even reading the numbers without crying. And I know that it might not have been the most effective way to get my message across, but the people there need to hear that. The public needs to hear what's really going on. And I got to the point where, because we were speaking in the meetings, I was actually started reading the local paper just to see what the comments were that were in the paper. And so they also, I kept seeing a COVID case chart number, little chart in the newspaper, and of the COVID deaths and the COVID injuries and things that were going on in the state of Texas. And I was like, this isn't right. They're lying. They're giving people inflated numbers to prevail,
encouraging
to go get the jab, but they're doing it out of a fear-based lie. And it really just kind of ticked me off. And I'm not like a very aggressive, vocal person. And I was like, babe, I need you to design me an ad with the vax injury numbers and the deaths to combat the lies that they were already putting in the newspaper for the people. And so we put a little ad in the paper for about, probably 3 or 4 months. And then one day I was walked into the post office, and I noticed all the papers in the recycling bin. And I was like, I wonder how many people actually read the paper anymore. Well, later that day, I drove into town, and I was sitting at the intersection, and I noticed this big, huge billboard right next to the Sonic and right across the street from the hospital. And I felt like the Lord really just highlighted it and said, this is your next avenue on how to get this information out to the people, at least of our town.
And see, there was some censorship that was happening at the same time. And we're like, we've got to reach our community. Where the county paper wasn't covering what we were speaking on like they should have been, like how they were covering everybody else's, comments in public forum or on an agenda item. They were censoring our comments, and we were having some issues there. So we're like, how are we gonna get this information out to the people? Because we can't be up here every week, speaking at the county commission. I mean, we did for 17 weeks straight. I mean, we didn't miss a beat. But there's going to come a point where, we just couldn't do that. And plus, we're not reaching the people like we would like to. So It wasn't all right. It wasn't my idea to put up a billboard, that's for sure. She came to me with this, and my first reaction is, babe, I'm too busy. I've got a bunch of things going on. I'm already did an ad for you. We're going to the county commissioner meetings. We always have an excuse on why we can't do something, right? Why we're too busy or whatever it may be, or it may cost too much. Like, we can't afford a billboard. Are you crazy? Go away. All right. And she's like, babe, I already looked into it. It's only $800 and we can get it for 1 month. And we need a tithe anyway. And you know how to do graphics. So you design me a billboard. They're coming after the children. You're right. It was when they had decided to put up pop-up vaccine clinics in schools. And this was right across the street from a high school. Like, you know what, this is where us a line you don't cross, right? You're coming after the children, and sacrifices are going to be made, and we're going to get this information out, whatever we got to do to make that happen. So that's how this started. We just put up this billboard, but we're not a source of information, right? We're just two country bumpkins out here doing our thing. But folks like the And We Know show is, or the Clay Clark Reawaken Conference, or shows like yours. And so we thought, hey, why don't we just take other people's logos and we'll put them up on these billboards? We'll put the VARS data and we'll take it right from the healthandhumanservices.gov website, even though it's underreported. They say, according to the Harvard study, that the Lazarus report, that only 1% is actually reported to this system, but the numbers were still incredible. At that point, November 2021 was 800,000 injuries reported, right? The deaths, I think, were around 18,000 or something like that. And I was like, that's incredible. I was like, even though that's underreported, if we put that up, at least, and that's all we did. We just put up the number, right? We didn't even put a call to action, because that should spark enough, interest to go and do some research and cause you to pause before you go down to the Walgreens or take your children down somewhere to go get this jab. But, people are going to want more information, right? And again, we weren't a source of information. So we started putting up other people's logos. And
Can I jump in real quick?
yeah. Sure.
Okay. Well, okay. So just a couple things real quick. That is so powerful. Just, you said there, Jamie, you said there could have been a better way of going about it, but just so powerful, a woman standing there reading the truth in front of these people, that the truth has been censored, or they know the truth and they're looking the other way when they're faced to see human emotion connected to these numbers of people actually dying and being injured. I mean, that's real. That's so powerful. I'm sorry I'm so emotional today. I'm extra emotional today, but your story is really touching. And then also, you said that you had noticed in the paper that they were inflating the numbers, they were lying to make the numbers bigger. And I think that's great that you were no, that's not right. And you went to combat that, because in all reality, if there's many people like us who would be oh, the numbers are inflated, then okay, then just let that slide, because that's gonna, go with our message type thing. But you're no, if the numbers were way less, then that would be concerning. But if they're way more, that was concerning to you too, because that's that ties back to your integrity. So I love that. And then that says something about the people that you are. And I love the idea of a billboard. And when you had the idea to put the logos on there, were you already in contact with Clay Clark and in contact with And or do you just I'm going to go to them and ask them if this sounds good?
Really go and add.
I had emailed actually the same day that I saw the billboard, and it was in October, and I came home and I said, before I did anything, I knew I had to at least get permission from LT over at And We Know, because he was one of the main logos that we wanted to put up there, or that I wanted to put up there. I got information, or I got the approval back from one of his assistants, probably 4 or 5 days later. And that's when I went to him. I was like, I got to get all my ducks in a row before I
Wow.
present anything to him, because he's the man of 20 questions and he'll grill me until he gets all the information that he needs. And I didn't
So
want
you weren't even going to charge them. You're going to do it for free.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it
this
says more about your character because
this has never been about
for that. So
right. Well, we've been really trying to focus on doing things with a kingdom mindset versus a worldly mindset, because we are in such a situation right now. It is so important that we all unite, right? We all put away our differences and we all come together, under one banner. This is an attack on all of us. Any race, any religion, any creed, any level of understanding of where we're at right now in this whole situation. This is coming for all of us, and we must bind together. And that was kind of our mindset. We have to promote one another. We have to lift each other up. In this moment, we have to unify, right? Because if we don't, they're going to just destroy us. And I think that's, a little bit of the reason why we're in the situation we're in, because we've been so divided. And that's the MO, right? Is to divide and conquer. So, she gets the And We Know logo approval, and I didn't get Clay Clark's approval. I just thought, hey, I'm sure these people wouldn't mind us putting their logo up. There's free advertisements going on billboard. And so I just kind of threw it up there. And then I get a phone call from Clay Clark's assistant. I thought I was in trouble. I was like, oh, crap. She's like, hey, Clay saw your billboard up there. And
this was the day after we put the first ad up on there. So we
Now,
put
see-
the first ad up on November 1st, and he gets this phone call from his assistant on the 2nd.
So there's another woman in my life, right? And that's my mother. And she's partially responsible for this. She's mainly responsible for this. I text my mom a photo of this billboard. I said, hey, Mom, look what we're doing. Well, she just happened to be texting Gina from Clay Clark's assistant to order a ticket to one of the Reawaken conferences here in Dallas. And so when she was back and forth, she just forwarded on that text message to her. And so she this thing, she shows Clay. Now, Clay wants to talk to me about this. He wants to have a conversation. I'm like, oh, crud. He's like, he wants to talk to you through Zoom. He does interviews and whatnot, and he wants to get you on and have a conversation about this. And I've never downloaded Zoom. I didn't have a social media account before this, right? And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm downloading Zoom, I'm getting on there, I start hitting buttons, and then boom, there comes Clay Clark. And he's like, yes, welcome to the Clay Clark Show. We got Robert Agee here with Banners for Freedom. And I'm like, what is going on? Okay, yes.
You thought you were just going to talk to him. You didn't know you were going live.
I didn't realize we were going live right into an interview. No, man. Wow. I was not prepared for that. I've never done an interview before. I've never done any of this, right? So I just jumped on there.
I think he could have mentioned that.
Yeah. There was talk about an interview, but I didn't realize we're going right into one. I thought we're gonna have a conversation about why in the world I'm putting up billboards with his logo on it.
Gotcha.
It was ended up being a great interview, and he's talking about or asking me, about what we're doing, right, and how many billboards we have up, and how many billboards we're going to have up. And I'm like, well, we got one up, and I would love to put these all over the U.S. This nation needs to hear about this. The people need to know what's going on. When my wife first came to me, when we were talking about putting a billboard up, she was reading in Psalm 20, verse 5. She was so excited. She's like, you got to see this. She goes, right here, Psalms 20, verse 5 says, and in the name of our God, we will raise our banners. It's like, that's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to march forward as the army of the Lord, and we're going to raise banners of truth.
I do get very passionate about my Bible.
She does. And it resonated with me so well. And I was like, I would love to put up banners across this nation, but we could only fund one, right? And that's all we could do. Well, then after that interview with Clay Clark, like I said, put up the And We Know logo on one of these billboards, and somebody sent that interview to LT over at And We Know. Well, he puts a clip of that interview on the And We Know show. And, and we're just simple folk, right? We just, at night we sit down, we watch a couple different podcasts, and, we go to bed. And so we sit down, we watching the And We Know show like we normally do. And boom, there's my mug on the And We Know show, right? On the Clay Clark interview. I'm like, why are we on the And We Know show? What's happening here, Ed? And he's talking about these billboards we're putting up. Well, the fine patriots over there on his that follow him, when they saw that, it apparently resonated with them, because all of a sudden our Give, Send, Go. So we had set up a Give, Send, Go, because people in our community found out we're putting up a billboard, and they said, hey, that's not just your responsibility, it's our community too. Can I help you? And instead of trying to meet them, I was like, there's got to be a way we can do this online. And we came across Give, Send, Go, not GoFundMe, the commie platform, Give, Send, Go. So we already had that set up, and it got mentioned on the Clay Clark show. And then it got mentioned on the And We Know show, and it blew up. Our phones just went nuts. We had to turn off the notifications because we had raised $30,000 in one day. And I'm like, what is going on, Lord? I was like, what's happening here? I was like, okay. And then I get a phone call from Stu Peters, and he's like, hey, what do you put up billboards? He's like, I need a billboard up in Georgia. He's like, I got this ad I'm trying to put up. He's like, you got any contacts in Georgia? And I'm like, let me see what I can do for you. Right. Yeah, I actually did know a guy who just contacted me and said, hey, I've got some things going on in Georgia. So I was able to give him a contact.
Wow.
And it was an amazing conversation that him and I had. We prayed together on the phone. It was powerful. And I ended up doing an interview with him that next week. This is all week one, right? Putting up this billboard. Well, we do an interview, raise like another $10,000 or something. So we're almost like 50 grand, right? Week one. We weren't even trying to do this. And then Clay calls, says, hey, you want to come down to one of our conferences? Like, if you do, just, I'll pay for your ticket. I'll comp your ticket. Just come join the conference. I was actually that day about to buy a ticket to the Dallas conference. It's just right here next to us. He goes, you want to go to San Antonio too? That's next week. I was like, oh no, we'll just go to Dallas, He calls me back, goes, hey, are you sure you don't want to go to San Antonio? He's very persistent, right? I started thinking about it. I told you earlier, I was born and raised in San Antonio. I was like, you know what? We got family down there. It'd be nice to go down to San Antonio. Sure. It's next week. I got nothing going on. So we go down to San Antonio. He's like, go ahead and set up a booth. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, what do you, a booth? Like, yeah, a booth, and tell everybody what you're doing. I'm like, okay. So we print out these little banner from Walgreens, and we set it up on this table and a little sign up sheet. And we're like, anybody want to help us raise a banner? Sign up here. All right. I had no idea what we were doing. Well, Clay comes up and says, hey, I want you to tell everybody what you're doing. I was like, well, I am, and he's like, no, I want you to get up on the platform. I'm like, no, Clay, I'm not getting in front of 3,000 people talking about these billboards. I was like, I've never done anything like that. Like, well, just think about it, pray about it, and let me know. Okay. So went back to the B&B that night. I prayed about it, and I got a message. I know I did. I don't write, but I sat there and I just kept writing. I couldn't stop writing, and
just not like him.
Yeah, and I called Clay. I was like, hey, I think I got a message. I'll be happy to get up there tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. You're on at this time. So I get up on the platform. Now, I like to tell this story because it's just, this whole thing is divinely orchestrated, right? It's not something that we could do. We're very simple people. God uses the unqualified to, and qualifies them, right? He equips the unqualified. So I'm up there on the platform and I'm delivering this message, and I'm like, hey, Psalms 20 verse 5, in the name of our God, we will raise our banners. Like, it's our responsibility. The mainstream media is not doing it. Or our health institutions aren't doing it. Educational systems aren't doing it. We, the people, must bind together and get this message out to all those who are unaware of the horror of what's happening. I had to remind everybody, we must face these giants. We must not have fear of these giants. Just like David went and had to remind Saul's army when they were freaking out about the Philistines and the giant. He's like, hey, who are these uncircumcised Philistines that they should defy the army of the living God? Come on, I'll take care of it myself, because if God could be for you, who could be against you, right? So sometimes, we forget, right? Who we serve and the power and the authority that we have behind that to face these giants. And, we don't have to fight the battle. The battle belongs to him. All we have to do is march forward, and, he takes care of the rest. So I'm saying all this. It's like 8 minutes, right? Real quick. people just start coming to the front of the platform and putting money on the platform. Like, what is going on?
Before he's even done talking.
Done talking. And Clay grabs the mic. He goes, hey, don't go nowhere. We're going to raise $100,000. And he tells the production guy to play $100,000 raising music. The guy plays Waymaker, right? And it's a favorite song of ours. We were listening to on the way down San Antonio. I'm thinking, well, that's appropriate because we're definitely going to need the Waymaker to get involved to raise $100,000. This just seems impossible. Well, funny thing happened. We started filling up trash bags full of cash. Everybody got up and they just started donating. They wanted to raise banners across this nation. This is not a unique idea to us, right? So many others that we had talked to had the same idea, but just didn't know how to facilitate it, right? Didn't have the graphics background or didn't know who to contact or didn't have the funds, right? But together, right? When we all come together, we can do things. And so we count the cash. There was $21,000, $22,000 in cash. We checked the Give, Send, Go, and there was 20 in trash bags. Oh yeah, we should have seen this in the back room. There's like this light that was hanging down in a closet, like flickering on and off, and we're in there counting up. We had stacks of cash. We're back there with a pastor and some other guy, and we're like, this does not feel right.
This does not look good.
Yeah, if anybody came in here right now, they'd be questioning what we're doing. We counted all up, and we were going to tell everybody, hey, look how much money we raised. You know, y'all are amazing. Thank you, Patriots. Give, Send, Go, 28,000. So that's $50,000. A gentleman had walked up on the platform and whispered in my ear and he said, hey, whatever, when you tally all this up, whatever the number you come up with from today's donations, let me know, and I'm going to match it. Not knowing how much was donated yet. And so after we tallied everything, I called him up. I said, hey, brother, we raised $50,000. He said, well, that's wonderful. He goes, give me your bank account number. Wire $50,000 over. So we end up raising exactly $100,000. And I'm like, okay. So this, to us, that's like, okay, this is a sign. We need to move forward. We are being called to do exactly this. So
to put up literal signs.
to put up banners. It's like, what are we doing? I'm a general contractor. Why am I putting up banners? Okay, this is great though. You know, it's an honor to be a part of this and to have an opportunity to save lives and to get a message out there and promote others at the same time. You know, we've always loved doing that, promoting other people and lifting them up and blessing them. So it's been a blessing to us to be able to do this. So here we are, $150,000, right? So we had $50,000 before we showed up, raised $150,000. We got to start putting up billboards because at that point, I think we only had up a couple. Yeah. And then, you know, people, the Lord just facilitated it, you know, sent us a web guy, sent us another guy who helped us find billboard locations all over the US. He actually was a billboard locator, patriot guy, fully awake, felt called. He was actually just praying, excuse me, the day before he came across us that the Lord would use him in his position to do something great in this hour. And then this came and someone gave me his phone number and I contacted him. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. And he happens to know all the Patriot-owned smaller mom and pop billboard companies all around the US because those are the only ones that would put this message up. Clear Channel, Lamar, out front, the big billboard operators, they wouldn't touch it. You know, they'll put up messages, they'll put up lottery messages, you know, to go get the jab. They'll encourage you to go take your children. They'll put all that propaganda out there, but they won't let you put up the numbers from the Health and Human Services own website. So we end up creating this huge
shame on them.
Shame. I mean, and they're
on Clear Channel, Lamar,
out front.
Shame on them.
God has let us put a few messages up, but it's been very scaled down from what our real message is.
Yeah, they made us modify some things and add some text on there, and then it's still a challenge. But it's okay. You know, we didn't want to support them anyway. We want
for the people that can hardly contain themselves, can you say your website?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Banners4Freedom.com. Okay. Banners4Freedom.com. And it's a really neat site because when we first started this, like we need an interactive map where there's little flames over the locations across the US where these billboards are, like it's spreading like wildfire. And it actually started spreading from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and then went back to the East Coast. But you can see that interactive map on there, and you can zoom in and see the exact location, the exact address where it's located, and the timestamp of when it was live. So what we do is we contract for a month at a time, generally, a digital billboard. And the reason why we like to do digital billboards is because you can instantly get your message up, but you can also put multiple messages up. So we can put up 5 different ads and they'll just rotate through. So as your ad comes up in its ad spot, it'll rotate to the next one, to the next one, then it'll just keep cycling. So we're able to put up many different messages, right? And yeah, so yeah, you can see that interactive map on there. It's pretty cool. And there's actually a list, there's a button you can click and it'll just give you a full list of all the locations. But you know, we started putting up billboards.
Got the $150,000.
$150,000 and started raising banners all across the nation. You know, since then we've been able to put up 109 over 190 billboards in over 33 states. We've done bus benches, mobile digital trucks. We've done over 500 indoor billboards, these TVs inside of different venues, you know, like restaurants and bars and gyms and things of that sort. And we were live in Times Square for 10 months. Times Square. Now that's a testimony right there.
Yeah.
I'll have to share this with you.
Yeah.
So Times Square, right? Like there's no way we're getting in New York City. I mean, they were the harshest on the lockdowns and pushing all that propaganda. I had a lady send me a picture of a board in Times Square. She's like, hey, you got to call them. You got to get up in Times Square. And I ignored it. I'm like, they're never going to do it. I was like, you know what? I should at least ask, right? You know, let's just see what happened there. So I contacted, it was a Clear Channel board. I was like, hey, can we just put up our URL, just Banners4Freedom.com? No. And don't ever contact us again. You're never getting up on our screen. Okay. All right. That's what I thought. Okay. I was like, Lord, if you want us in Times Square, you'll get us in Times Square. I'm moving on. And just left it there. Never thought of it again. Well, we get back from the Phoenix conference. Phoenix are after Dallas in January of 2021. So it was San Antonio. Then we went to the Dallas conference, and he ended up, Clay had to speak at the Dallas conference and then at the Phoenix conference. So we get back. I'm not feeling good. I got a little bit of a fever. I'm laying down in the bedroom, and Jamie comes in there with this big grin. She's like, you won't believe what I just got a phone call from a guy in Times Square. And he said, what did he say to you exactly?
He said, I got an opportunity for you and I want to present it to you. I have a billboard in Times Square that is on the side of the ABC building. It's across the street from the Army Recruitment Center, and it's right above the New York City Police Station. And I was like, oh, well, that's awesome, but I'm sure it cost a fortune. And he goes, well, normally this 3-month ad slot is $90,000. And I was like, okay, well, we definitely can't do that. And he goes, well, we had another customer come in, put 60,000 down on this 3-month slot, and then left the country with this company. So he doesn't need the ad slot anymore. Would you guys want it if you can cover the $30,000 to recoup what they were still needing? And I said, wow.
Do you know what message we're putting up? Oh yeah, we've already looked at it. We're fine with it.
We're good with it. And I was like, okay, well, let me talk to my husband and see what we can do. And of course I go and tell him. He thought he was delirious from his fever. And
yeah, I'm like, I'm seeing things. I'm like, this sounds crazy.
He thought he was hallucinating.
I really did. I thought I was really sick. So yeah, I said, okay, babe, that's incredible. So how much money we have? She's like, we got like $5,000.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we had that money, I mean, we contracted billboards as quickly as possible. We went through it. They're not cheap, right? So I said, okay, how much time do we have to raise the money? The guy was like, yeah, we got to fill this spot. They go quick in Times Square. Okay, well, this is interesting.
One day,
what do we do? What do we do? I'm like, you know, we need to pray about it. I'm like, Lord, you didn't just like tease us with this, did you? You know, I was like, why would this be dangled in front of us and we can't do anything about it? And I woke up the next morning. I felt like he said that this is a test. I want you to take care of it, and then I'm going to take care of you. I want to, I want to see how committed you are, a test of your faith, of being a testimony. I'm not sure what exactly he was trying to do, maybe all three, but I knew I was supposed to take care of it. So I took out my American Express, put $30,000 on it. I wasn't sure if it was even going to go through. They allowed it, boom, 30,000. And I said, okay, we're good to go. Like, huh, all right, we're about to be live in Times Square. Fantastic. 2 days later, after I do that, a gentleman calls me. He says, hey, how's it going, Robert? I heard you're getting up in Times Square. Like, yeah, actually. He's like, oh, tell me the story. So I tell him the whole story I just told you. And he goes, well, how did you fund it? I was like, well, and so, I took care of it, and, I'm just trusting. He goes, oh, no. He goes, you did the right thing, but that's not your responsibility. Let's give me your bank account number. And he wired $30,000 directly into my bank account. Covered that whole bill. I was like, well, that was fast, right? That was fast. Thanks, because, I was having a little bit of heart palpitations from that one.
It wasn't a fever that time.
Yeah. So, not only was this board delivered to us, right? It was paid for. It was amazing. It just, I was like, okay, wow, the board, this is your board. So what messages do we put up? This is right on the corner of the ABC building. So it's like a cornerstone, right? And then it's got 2 screens on it. So it's not one screen, it's a corner. So you can separate the messages out. So it's like 2 messages in one, like double portion, right? I mean, it has all this stuff going on behind this board. So we start putting up the VARS data, right? We got the VARS data running on one side every week. I mean, every day of every week, that data, and I'd update it each week. And then on the front board that faces Broadway, we would just pick somebody, a patriot organization out there as we feel led, and we would promote them. Surprise, right? You're live in Times Square. And it was really exciting to do. I think the first one we put up was LT, the And We Know show. And then as it progressed, right, this started in January all the way through the end of October. We started just putting up messages as we felt led, right? And we didn't know what we were putting up each week. And sometimes it was last minute, but almost every time they had a very unique story behind it, right? Like, for instance, here's an example. I'll give you 2 examples. So how much time we have? I'll give you 2 quick examples. One is I met the firefighters in New York. I met them out. I think we were in San Francisco or San Diego at a Reawaken conference, and they're called Bravest for Choice, I believe. And it's all the first responders that were being affected by the mandates that were going. They were being fired and mandated to take the shot and all this. And so they created an organization named Bravest for Choice. And I heard their story. And when I got back here to Texas, I thought, you know what, that's someone that we need to get them up in New York, of course, right? The New York firefighters. And they're from other states too, but it was kind of headquarters there. So I put it up in Times Square and I sent it over to them. And they're like, wow, this is amazing. We actually have a rally going on this Saturday. And the rally, it's a march, and it starts right at that board. And then it goes down this other area. I was like, oh, well, fantastic. It'll be live for your rally. Wow. They're like, oh, this is so cool.
Robert, I'm trying not to cry.
It's amazing. Oh, there's so many more.
So good thing he's not telling you more stories.
Yeah. So I'm amazed. I'm excited because we have a photographer that goes down there every week, and he takes photos and video for us.
Oh,
real
wow.
Professional, good stuff. And I called him up and I said, hey, instead of going down on Wednesday or Thursday, can you wait till Saturday till they're down there and get them in the whole shot? And that way they've got something, for themselves to a moment to remember. Oh yeah, sure. He calls me on Friday night and he says, hey, I can't make it. I got a family emergency. And I was devastated. And I told them, I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't have the photographer there. And they were kind of bummed. I was bummed. I said, just have somebody just grab a cell phone, take a picture, you all behind it, send it to me. That'll work. So they end up sending me a picture. And I get this picture and I'm sitting there and I'm editing it, color correcting it, getting it ready to post it on social media. And I'm looking at it and I look at the background. And so our billboard's up on it's the highest one. And then right below it is a large billboard. So there was an ad on this large billboard right behind where the people were standing. And I look at it and it says, the hand of God, a sublime masterpiece. It was an ad for something. I'm like, what is that? And I look over here on this sideboard and it has the name God real big right behind their heads. And it says the best picture of the year. And I was like, whoa. And instantly the Lord spoke to me. He said, hey, I got this. He goes, don't worry if things don't work out according to your plans. He was like, I set this whole thing up so that that person would stop by and take that picture at that very moment when that very ad was playing behind them to let you know that I'm orchestrating this whole thing. This is my masterpiece, and I've got you, right? Because I was always bummed, you know, and he was kind of letting me know, hey, don't worry, you know, you're good, stop worrying. It was amazing, right? And then I'll tell you one more quick one. You know Sheila Home.
I
Sheila
keep
Home.
hearing of her. I actually don't know who she
You have to
is.
get her on your podcast. Your audience would
Okay.
love her.
I
She's
keep hearing her name over and over.
Georgia Guidestones gal.
so Georgia Guidestones, right? She's been talking about the Georgia Guidestones forever, calling them out and whatnot. She actually came to our tent revival here at our property back in July 4th of last year and was talking about the Guidestones. And she had left, and it was January 6th, right? I'm traveling to another Reawaken conference on the East Coast. I'm in Georgia in a hotel, and I'm like, I don't have anything for Times Square. I've got to submit this tomorrow. What am I going to do? I'm like, Lord, I don't got anything. What am I supposed to put up? And I felt like he said Sheila Home. I'm like, okay, Sheila Home. What am I going to put up for Sheila Home? You know, I'm put up her logo. What else do I put up? And I got on her website. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that book series called For the Sake of America. I didn't want to like advertise a book series. It's not about promoting product, you know, but I was like, that cover, For the Sake of America, it's appropriate. It's July 4th right now. So I'll just blow that up full screen. It's a nice graphic, had an American flag behind it. I made a motion wave, you know, behind the type, but I didn't feel like it was complete. All right. I was like, this just doesn't feel complete. And I was like, oh, I got to do something. I hit send it off to New York, went to sleep. 2 hours later, I did this at 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 hours later, 4 a.m. is when the Georgia Guidestones came down. Right. Okay. I get a text message from Sheila Home that morning. She happened to text message me and said, you won't believe what just happened. And she sent me a picture of it. I'm like, you won't believe what's going live in Times Square, because she had no idea it was going to be a surprise. So I had enough time to call New York, say, hold up on that ad. I added a little animation of a drone footage of the Georgia Guidestone being blown up to that ad. And now it was complete. Right. And got it submitted, and she got to see that live. I mean, so the same week, the same day it went down, right, is when I happened to be putting up the Georgia Guidestone gal. And so it was just perfect. And it was such an honor to be able to do that. And it blessed Sheila so much, because she's been working so hard to expose this. And for them to come down that week and then to be live in Times Square talking about it was just divine providence. So there's so many more stories. I could keep you on here for hours, but you know, we're putting up other messages too. You know, we're not just putting up the VARS data. You know, we've put up billboards all over Texas just this last month, working with Trennis Evans from condemnedusa.com, or is it .org? Trennis Evans, he is a J6, an amazing man who's been fighting for all the J6ers out there that have been locked up in this gulag, you know, with no bail, no trial, fighting on their behalf. He's really the tip of the spear in the J6 movement, in my opinion, in exposing all this. And he has some information coming out here real soon that's going to just blow this whole thing wide open, and is going to allow a change of venue for all these people who are being tried. But he wanted to put up billboards all across Texas calling on Ken Paxton, our attorney general, to do something about this. And so we worked with him and utilized our network of billboard companies and put up these J6 ads all over Texas, which have got a great response. And you know, there's so many others that we're working with, that we're helping to get their own messages out. You know, we've worked with different patriot organizations who, you know, together collectively, they'd come together, they would raise enough funds to put up a billboard in their you know, community, and we would help source it. We would help facilitate all of that. Sometimes we'll help design the billboard. It's been great, you know, working together, you know, and united to get these messages out.
Sure.
Awesome.
One of my favorite ones just recently that we did too is down around the CDC down in Atlanta, Georgia, both sides of the CDC campus, and actually right down in the same area is the Atlanta Children's Hospital, that we know there's a lot of corruption going on down there in Atlanta. And we had a group, is it
the Vaccine Research Safety Foundation, Steve Kirsch.
He had contacted Robert and got those 2 billboards down there. I can't remember what they say now.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
other
it's
children are
Vaccine
dying.
Safety Research Foundation. So one of them, they literally flank the headquarters. There's this ground. They have like universities and the headquarters and schools and hospitals, and it's all this like little area. They got them coming and going, right? One says, how many more kids must die before you stop the shot, which is
Right.
black and white, very straight to the point, calling out the CDC. And the other one says the alarm has been triggered in the VAERS system for some time. Why hasn't anybody at the CDC noticed? Just asking questions, not being very confrontational, but putting it out there, asking the questions. Because sometimes all you need to do is ask a question, right? That was really exciting to get that message up for those folks over there and work with them. And so, we're looking at all sorts of different opportunities going into this year. We have recently became a nonprofit ministry, right? So we are now a 508c1a private ministerial association, right? So it's different than a 501c3. 501c3 so has a lot of strings attached to it with the government, right? There's a lot of filing, a lot of restrictions, and that's how come we didn't want to become a nonprofit in the beginning, is we didn't want the government getting involved. But there's a tax code to be a private ministry that we have went ahead and adopted. And it's an amazing opportunity that not a lot of people know about. Not a lot of tax advisors know about, because you don't need a tax advisor anymore once you become a 508c1a. So they don't like telling you about it. But it's an honor, because now we can really make sure all the funds that are donated go straight to getting this message up, and none of it's going to go to the IRS that's using our money for Ukraine and for other nefarious things.
Create more bioweapons to try
yes.
to kill all of us.
And now, all donations are tax deductible. So that's an amazing opportunity for folks and for us. And we're hoping that, we'll really be able to get some strong messages up, but many messages up, and including not just billboards, but also kiosks, right? We had this contact to this gentleman who has all these digital, they're like a giant iPad, right? And they go and you place them in different venues, right? Grocery stores, shopping malls, different areas. And they sit there and they just run 24/7 with different, your ads, only your ads. And they're only like $700 to $900, depending on the size that you get for an entire month. And they place it there and only your ads run on it. And that's shipping and set up the whole 9 yards. And so, we got some folks looking into funding some of those. If there's anybody that's like, hey, I want one of those down in the HEB down here, give us a shout, because we may be able to arrange that.
We're also looking for businesses business owners that actually do have a lot of foot traffic. If you would be, willing to let us set one of these kiosks in there, we might be able to facilitate funding that to be ran every month. So
That'd be
That's a
fantastic.
great idea.
And, you can always go to our social media to kind of keep up to date on what we're doing. True Social, it's Banners4Freedom. Same with Telegram, Facebook. We're on Getter, not on Twitter yet. Kind of am. That's a long story. But if you go to our social media accounts, anytime a new billboard goes live, we post it on there, and updates, things of that sort, so you get to actually see it, because you get webcams back from these digital billboards. That's what's nice about them. So as soon as they go live, boom, they send us a webcam shot of it. There's this arm that sticks out and has a little camera on it. Pretty cool. You can sign up for our email blast. We just started doing email blast. In fact, we sent our first one out today. It just has a bunch of different information in there, boards that have been live, different exciting things that are happening. So you can go to our website, sign up for that, stay up to date. And we've had a lot of folks say, hey, we want to raise our own banner in our town, but we can't do a billboard. So do you have any like vinyl banners, like, 10-foot banners, 6-foot? So we ended up putting together a bunch of different things that people can raise on their own, right? Whether it's yard signs or vinyl banners or bumper stickers. We actually have these
window decals.
Pretty cool.
So you can actually become a mobile billboard for us.
I've got a window decal stuck on the back of my truck, right? It's like, I think they're 15 inches, 15 inches, 11 inches tall, 20 inches wide, something like that's on the website. But it's perforated, so you can see through it. From the inside, you can see out. You can be a mobile billboard. So everywhere we drive, I got that. I got magnets on the side of my truck. I got a banner on the front of my grill.
We got a big compliment from a military vet this morning when I was driving into town.
Yeah. And it supports a really great man, Robert Maddox, who's got a print shop in Tennessee, good Christian man, mom and pop setup, so, we're supporting him and what he's doing in his ministry. It's and we're pretty much giving it at cost. He's given us an amazing deal and we're extending that to the people. We're just trying to get a message out. That's our main goal with all of this. We've sacrificed a lot to make this happen. This isn't a money-making thing for us by any means. We've sacrificed a lot. If we're going to ask anybody to donate, we were going to be the first to do that. So for 8 months, we donated our time, everything, our money, to make this happen. So, we're all in this together, right? We're the army of the Lord, and if we come together and we bring our loaves and fish, we can do big things. We can put banners up all across the nation, obviously, and we've been able to do this. We're almost at $500,000 on GiveSendGo, which is just crazy to me, right? We're like $10,000 shy of 500, and we put that goal beginning of last year, thinking, I don't know, we'll see what happens. We're almost there. And those donations have we've got to $500,000 by 3,143 donations. That's it. All right. And a lot of those people donate on a monthly basis. So it doesn't take very many people.
A lot of times it's just $10, $20, $25, $50, there's not been a whole lot that are even over $2,000. And it just seems wild to me of how all of the fishes and the loaves really they multiply. And we've been able to do a lot of great things all across the country. And
the whole multiplication is things like getting a billboard in Times Square, right, for 30,000 when it should have been 90,000, which ends up being paid by some random guy who calls me, right? Or these billboards that we've been putting up all along the roads. We'll talk to these Patriot-owned organizations, and they love what we're doing. They're giving us huge discounts. All right, they're giving us multiple boards for the price of one. They're extending contracts. They're doing all these things. So it is being multiplied in amazing ways. We're so excited about it and looking forward to 2023. This is an amazing year. I believe this is the year we're going to see the breakthroughs that we've been waiting on for so long. I believe this is the year that the wealth from the wicked is going to be given to the righteous. There's going to be an event that takes place. The enemy has a reset, right? And he keeps talking about, right, the great reset. Well, there's another reset that's about to happen, which is the real reset. There's always a counterfeit. There's always a counterfeit. Just remember that. There's always a counterfeit. And this reset that's coming is going to be a reset unlike the world has ever seen, but it's going to be for the good. And so that we can finally move forward and be able to do the things that we've always wanted to do and that we need to do. And we're going to get rid of these bad actors. We are going to call out this evil. It's going to be exposed. And then we're going to take authority over all these different mountains of influence. And I believe we're about to see revival on a scale the likes the world has never seen. So we're really excited to be a part of this and to do with all y'all.
And we hope that they stop the shots this year.
Oh, that's happening.
Yeah, well, something big happened last night with the Damar Hamlin football player that collapsed on the field.
Really?
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen, it was one of the Buffalo Bills players. He was tackled and it looked pretty minor. And then, he was tackled and then he goes to stand back up and he falls back. And the players were surrounding him and the ambulance came and his heart stopped beating. Like they were doing CPR on him in the middle of a field. You've got thousands of people in the stands and both teams are like really, traumatized, and you've got millions of people watching. And like he was there on that field for at least 20 minutes. And they got his heart beating again. And they suspended the whole game, like it suspended a whole NFL game, which that doesn't happen very often, But they came out today and said that he had a heart attack, healthy 24-year-old.
Right.
And was
I was
probably
gonna
vaccinated.
Yeah, I was going to say the makers of the documentary died suddenly last night. They just released over 300 names of athletes that have died suddenly, and most of them are 20 to 30 years old.
Every single one of them vaccinated.
Extreme athletes.
Mhm.
These people train, they're physically fit, and for them just die suddenly, like how many more have to die like that, where they fall over backwards, they face plant in the basketball floor? How many more times does this have to happen before they stop?
And I assume that they're vaccinated because, this has never happened before. You don't have people just falling over, dying like this in sports games.
Children having heart attacks, young adults having heart attacks. Didn't happen when I was growing up.
No.
And, my heart goes out to, that gentleman's, family who died on the field there. But, it's unfortunate that it takes an event like that at a football game to get people to think and wake up when you've got it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere, but it's just not being broadcasted. The news isn't talking about it. People, aren't aware of the horror, the reality of what's happening. There's folks out there like Todd Callender and attorney Tom Renz who are looking at the real stat and many others statistics, and it's a lot larger than what the VARS numbers are reporting. I mean, they're talking about
40 million.
Yes.
And the number on our
Worldwide.
billboard says like 1.4 million, but that's for US injuries. And they're saying it's 40 times that amount.
If
in
not
reality.
50 or 60,
Yeah.
it's incredible. And once the reality of what has happened is fully exposed, and I know Elon Musk, we're still trying to figure that guy out, right? White hat, black hat, what's he doing here? But it's amazing that he's putting this information out. And I think this weekend is when the Fauci files come out, right? So I got a special billboard design just for that. Fauci is a fraud. He's got Fauci on there, and he's got 2 masks on. That's what he does. He wears 2 masks, and it's got a cobra on the front of his mask. We're gonna be putting that up and preparation for the Fauci files to come out. Oh, it's, we have to start calling these people out. We're going to have to start getting aggressive. It's amazing we haven't got as aggressive as we have to this point. But there's a time and place for everything. And at some point we have to resist, fashion that really gets attention. Right. I mean, we got to let them know no more. You can't do this to the people. And so we're doing our part. Everybody has their part. You may not know exactly, you won't know what you're being called to do. I had no idea we're going to be doing billboards, right? But had we not went to that one conference, had we not, had that one 4th of July party out here and heard about the county commissioner meetings, had we not went to the county commissioner meetings for 17 weeks and did what we did, had we not taken that ad out and then took that then set up that billboard. Had I not said yes to her, okay, we'll put up a billboard, fine. Let's they're coming out to the children. You're right, babe. Had we not, if so many had we not, right, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today, but we didn't know what we would be doing today. So I guess what I'm trying to say is just do the best that you can do with what is in front of you each and every day. And just pray and have faith that he's going to lead you into your calling, because every single one of us is called to do something great. Every single one of us. But sometimes we're being prepared for that. All right. So just be patient in the process, but be looking and be asking. And it's probably not going to be the thing that you expect.
Yeah,
That's for sure. I went to our county commissioner's court this morning, and it's actually the first time I've been back in a year and a half, since November of 21. And I made it through my speech without crying, which I was excited about. Woohoo, the first time. But, even one of the commissioners, they were talking about county roads. And there was one lady that got up and spoke, and one of the commissioners said, well, you're just one person. And I wanted to jump up and say, but one person really can make a difference when you join forces with other people. It's just one person getting up and saying something. And that's all it really does take, and then everybody else jumps on board. But
Yeah, and then it takes others to back them up. And I think one of the reasons that people have not come out, as aggressively, is because when we share, it's like we just get right back down. It's like I shared about the football player last night, and I had 3 trolls on there, one saying, oh, you're jumping to conclusions, it could be this, it could be this. And then you have people that laugh and people that like roll their eyes. It's like, what's it going to take to wake these people up? Like, I'm ready for the forced awakening. I'm ready for the shakening. I'm ready for the shaking, because like there are people that just refuse to see right now. And like, they cannot refuse to see when there are banners, when they're driving on the highway, and they have to see it, and they're probably like, I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. And then like, they try to ignore it. But thank you for, for doing that, for putting it literally in people's faces. It's got to happen. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing everything that you've done over the course of the last couple of years. Like, did this journey start in 2021? Yeah. So it's just been like maybe a year and a half or so.
The billboards, we put up the billboard November 1st.
We've been awake to a lot of the
we have a whole nother testimony that would take another hour at least to share.
Maybe we should have you back then, because I love you guys so much.
But we did. We became aware of a lot of the different stuff that was going on, government corruption, a lot of satanic stuff, the vaccine stuff about 14, 15 years ago. And
wow,
it's really sad to say is that, 2021, it took, a year and a half of lockdowns to get us to get out and go speak about stuff that we've known for this many years. We really had to repent for that, because it was like, I've given you all of this information. I've exposed you to all this. What are you doing with it? You're not doing anything. And that's really kind of what.
And sometimes, it's simple as, sharing on social media or talking to your friends and family. And, we always have that fear of ridicule and rejection. I understand, we
and it's hard to know what can you do. Like, it's a very helpless position.
Yeah. Well, you do what's put in front of you, and then ask for doors to be open. And then you'll be amazed when you start walking in that faith. And again, that's a whole another testimony I'd like to share with you sometime, because there's another story to all of this, to how we even got to this point.
I'd love to. And comment below if you want to see Robert and Jaime come back. Would it be okay if I pray for you guys?
Oh, please. Yes, amen.
Yes.
All right. Dear God, we just want to come to you today. We want to thank you so much for the path that the Agees have followed, and for opening the doors that you have, for allowing them to be as successful as they have been, for, bringing the people behind the scenes to help them, like, to find the people they need to be able to get this mission done. Thank you for Clay Clark. Thank you for all the people that have stepped in behind the scenes to help the donations and help these billboards to get out. And we just ask that you would continue to open doors for this couple, continue to make opportunities for shining light on the dark places, and helping to trudge forward towards, the people that are really fighting this fight, the patriot businesses and the people that are speaking out on the front lines about this. So we just ask you to bless them, keep them safe, give them provision for themselves financially, independently of, Banners for Freedom, and just ask you to continue to open doors and to help everyone who is watching this now, inspire them to take the next right step for them, and be with us all. And please help my channel to stay up, and this to stay up on my channel. protect my channel as well. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. And we should definitely do this again, like maybe next month.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
no, we'll do. And thank you so much for the prayer. It meant so much to us.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you. And much love. This is the year, dark to light.
Be encouraged. It's about to get exciting.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.